Welcome to Linguamia Court Interpreting Essentials. In this series, we're bringing together voices from across the court interpreting profession. Each episode features a certified court interpreter or expert trainer sharing practical insights. These 5-minute segments are designed to guide, encourage, and inspire you. Let's get started.
Well, greetings, aspiring interpreters. My name is Corinne McKay. I am English A, French B. I live in the U.S. state of Colorado in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains in the western United States. And I guess I have a little bit of an atypical background in that I've been a full-time freelancer since 2002, but I was exclusively a French to English translator until around 2019, which is when I passed the French court interpreter exam for the state of Colorado. So I've been a freelancer since 2002, and I've been interpreting in court since 2019. And then I went on to do a master's in conference interpreting, and now I do a lot of conference interpreting as well. So I've always been a freelancer, and I do only court and conference. I don't do medical at all. So, I wanted to talk to you about how I prepared for the oral exam because I started from really absolute ground zero. I would say that my spoken French was okay for a translator, but and because I did study abroad in France for a year in a program where I only spoke French. My husband is half Swiss, so we go to Switzerland frequently. So I'd say my French was maybe slightly above average for a translator, but nowhere near enough to interpret. My B language was nowhere near enough to interpret. So I really started from almost nothing. And how I practiced all three of those modes is if you are studying for a court exam, I think it is really important to purchase the Interpreter's Edge, which is available from a company called Acebo. If any of you know Holly Mickelson, who is sort of one of the originators of professional court interpreting in the United States, it's her company that produces the Interpreter's Edge. So that is how I practiced all three of those modes. It comes with recordings. There is, for my language, French, there is no language specific version. So you use what's called the generic version. So it's all English. You interpret only from English into your other language, or for lots of other languages, Spanish most notably, there are dual language versions. So that's how I practiced all three of those modes. And that's also how I self evaluated my recordings because you have the transcript right there. So you record yourself and then compare it to the recording. And I agree that learning simultaneous is really hard. It's one of, I mean, I can laugh about it now, but I joke to people that I think I don't cry easily. And I think I cried over the Interpreter's Edge minimum twice, at least twice. I cried over the Interpreter's Edge. So I think what you want to do is start with things that are slow and easy, or slow down recordings. In, for example, in YouTube, there's just a speed up, slow down feature that you can use because you really, really don't want to build the habit of things like paraphrasing or leaving things out. And I feel like if you start with things that are too hard and you're trying to go too fast, that the problem is that that habit, specifically people who paraphrase, is very difficult to break once you have ingrained that habit. So start with things that are slow and easy. Start with things that are actually easy, not just easy to a professional interpreter. Start with things that are actually easy. And you may also be able to find some podcasts. For example, there is a series of podcasts which, when I practice for the court interpreter exam, was free, but now might be paying, called The News in Slow. So, for example, the news in slow French, the news in slow Spanish, and it was really slow. So, you may need to start out interpreting things that are for language learners. Don't start out interpreting the news. Start out interpreting things for people who are learning your language because you need materials that are actually easy. Then, how to practice when you don't have a partner. I do think you need some sort of coach. In my opinion, if you're going to pass a court interpreting exam, which is a very demanding exam, or when I took my master's in conference interpreting exams, you have to have someone who knows what they're talking about listen to you. Otherwise, you have no idea how close you might be to the bar, where you need to be to pass this exam. And I think for shadowing and dual tasking exercises, I'm a big fan of shadowing to this day because you can do it when you're doing other things. That's part of the point, right? Is to get your brain used to doing, multiple things at one time. So you can shadow while you're like washing the dishes or driving in the car or whatever. And then I think for dual tasking, I do the classic exercise that they teach you in Interpreter's Edge, which is writing numbers in order. So you just write the numbers 1 to 100 and then go backwards from 100 to 1. So I wish you the best of luck. And I think a habit that really made a difference in my skills is being really consistent and emphasizing that over what was the best or optimal way to prepare for the exam. I think one thing that allowed me to pass the court interpreter exams and my master's in conference interpreting exams on the first try is to sort of say, like, finished is better than perfect. Instead of obsessing over the perfect way to train for this exam, I just said, I'm going to do an hour a day. And I will tell you that for the court interpreter exam, I prepared very consistently for a year and a half. I put more than 400 hours of direct preparation into the exam and probably more time than that just working on my spoken French. And I passed the consecutive by 1 point. So that consistency, I think, is for me what really made the difference. So I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you for joining us, and a special thanks to today's guest court interpreter for sharing their experience and wisdom. Remember, progress comes from consistent practice, curiosity, and community. See you in the next episode.